Today is June 3rd, 2009. I am Andrea Mott. It is a pleasure to conduct this interview for the Dakota Memories Oral History Project in Napoleon, North Dakota. Can you please state your full name, including maiden name?
Delores, Becker, Kuhn.
When and where were you born?
I was born in McIntosh County at my grandpa and grandpa's place in December 16th, 1933.
Have you ever heard an interesting story about your birth?
Oh, my grandma Schumacher and I had birthdays on the same day, and that's about all.
Was a midwife or doctor present?
I was never told and I never asked.
Can you please share some of your earliest memories with us?
Growing up in a family of 9 siblings, milking cows, carrying water to the house, and coal and wood and all that kind of stuff, washing, with carrying in water, wash clothes where we carried in water, had to heat the water, walk to school, did all kinds of chores around the farm.
What kind of chores?
Oh, we had to feed the livestock, gather the eggs, and you know how it goes. Like I said, carrying the water and coal and wood and all that when you come home from school.
Was there any chore that you preferred doing more than the others?
No, I like going to school best. I loved school.
And what did you like the most about school?
I liked everything. I think my favorite subject was, they called it arithmetic. I think now they call it something else.
Did you ever have any homework?
Oh yeah.
Was it always in your favorite subject, or was it in everything?
It wasn't everything, but I didn't mind homework because I loved school. And then some evenings we would make homemade ice cream. We'd chop up some ice and we looked forward to that. We knew tonight after school we were going to be making ice cream, and that was such a big deal.
What was the process for making ice cream?
Oh, you had to get some ice and you had to turn it by hand till it froze. You had a mixture of milk and sugar and eggs and cream and a flavoring, vanilla or maple nut, whatever you liked.
And that was your favorite?
And then we made some homemade chocolate fudge on top.
And how did you make the fudge?
With cocoa and cream and sugar. You'd boil it.
So when you were at school, what kind of lunches would you take to school?
Oh, we had gallon pails where you buy syrup in, and we'd have lots of syrup sandwiches. And you know how the syrup would soak through the bread that the kids wouldn't eat nowadays. And we had fruit, maybe an apple. We always had some halva, maybe once in a while grapes.
What's halva?
Halva? What's halva? You buy it in the grocery store. It's kind of sugary. You don't know what halva is?
Is that a typical German Russian
Could be.
dish?
Could be. It's not a dish. You buy it where the cheese and stuff is. In that counter, yeah. In that cooler.
Where did you go to school?
We went to school, Weigel School District, number 3, and it was like half a mile from our farm, and we always walked to school. If it stormed or whatever, we always walked to school.
Always walked. So in the winter when it was really bad, you never had any other form of...
We always had school because our teacher lived at our place, and sometimes he'd walk with us, or he'd walk ahead of us and start the fire until we come, so it's warm.
And what kind of games would you play while you were at school?
Oh, we'd go outside and play with the snow, fox and the goose.
What is that? Can you explain that game?
I really forgot already how you play it, but you make a circle with tracks and fresh snow. You had to have fresh snow to do it. I'm not really sure how it went anymore. It's been so long ago. And we would play lots of baseball, hide and go seek and different things.
Well, did it, uh, um, did you ever play any games inside of the schoolroom? Like for learning purposes?
Oh, we played cards. Sometimes during recess we couldn't go out, card games.
What kind of card games?
There's so many. Uh, we would play rummy and we would play Queen of Spades. You know what that is? Yeah.
Did all of your siblings go to school at the same time as you, or did
No.
any of them have to leave?
No, there's different. With the ages, some were out of school by the time some others went. When I was done with the 8th grade, my younger sister didn't go to school yet. And none of us went to high school, except my younger sister out of 9, because by then time a bus came to pick her up. In our days we had no bus coming, so we only had 8th grade education. And like I said, my older sister and brother only had like 5th grade education.
Why is that?
Because they had to stay home, help work on the farm.
And how many kids were there? In your
There was 9, including me.
What kind of chores would you do when you'd go home in the afternoon after school?
We had to carry in water, coal, wood for the fire till the next day is enough till we come home again.
Did you do any inside chores?
Inside chores, oh yeah, we helped with fixing meals and do dishes and clean up. Whatever work came along, you helped.
What kind of meals would you help make?
Oh, we always had meat and potatoes. We had a lot of rice dishes, macaroni, so forth.
Were you ever responsible for making family meals by yourself?
Oh yeah, when I got a little older, I did a lot of cooking. Then in the summertime, we worked in the garden. We helped with the canning.
What kind of vegetables and fruit would you grow in the garden?
Oh, we would grow radishes, onions, beets, tomatoes, peas, and string beans, and cucumbers. We did a lot of canning. And in the fall, we'd go choke cherry picking. We made a lot of homemade jellies with choke cherry.
How do you make jellies?
You cook your choke cherries, and then you have to rub them out so the pits are not in there. You rub them through a strainer or something, so the pits stay in the strainer, and the juice goes down into the kettle, and then you would cook it, put your sugar and whatever in, and
How much would you usually make?
Oh, we made lots. We made half-gallon jars. We needed lots of jam.
What would you eat with the jam?
Bread.
Homemade?
Homemade bread, yeah. We didn't know much of bought bread. Bought bread was a treat. Now homemade bread's a treat.
Was your family very religious
Yes.
growing up?
Mm-hmm.
How often would you attend services?
Well, we go to church every Sunday. Even with the horses, if the roads were blocked, we went with the horses. Yeah, we never missed a Sunday Mass.
Even with bad weather?
Yeah. No matter how cold. Then my dad always played in church. He was the organist for many years.
Did he teach anybody else in the family how to play the organ?
No. He didn't have the patience.
When you were at church, were there ever any classes that you would attend?
No, we had religion classes during the summer, like sometimes a month, and then later on 2 weeks as the years went on. We always had sisters teaching, but then the later years they couldn't get the sisters for a month, and they had them for 2 weeks. That was our religion classes.
How many people would usually attend those?
Gee, probably around 40. That was country church.
Delores, we were talking a little bit about religion before. When were you baptized and or confirmed?
In St. Boniface.
When was that?
Well, I'm sure shortly after I was born, we would say.
How about your
I have certificates, but I'd have to look it up.
What about your confirmation? Can you tell us about that?
I was about probably 12 years old. Nowadays they confirm earlier.
Did you wear anything special on
Not
your
for confirmation, but for First Communion, yeah.
Can you explain what you wore?
For First Communion, I wore a white dress and a veil, just like a bride does. That was a big day.
What is the significance of the white veil and the white dress?
Because you receive First Holy Communion the first time, I think your soul's supposed to be pure and clean.
Were you able to question religious teachings?
Was I able to question? If I had a question, yeah.
Was Sunday dinner or supper different from other days of the week?
Yes, we always had soup. Sundays, chicken noodle soup with cream chicken. And we called it soup and dungus.
Dungus?
Dungus, yeah. The cream chicken, you dunk the cream from
Is
the
that a
chicken
traditional-
with bread.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's traditional German Russian. A lot of people still do it. It's still their Sunday dinner. It wasn't Sunday in our house if we didn't have soup. For dinner, that was a must.
What was the typical meal for a church celebration?
Oh, they would have probably chicken and rice and mashed potatoes and gravy and coleslaw, corn, probably pies or bars or cakes.
Was the German language used in church worships and prayers?
Was the German language used? No, but Latin was used in my growing up days. We had Latin, but we didn't understand it. But we had it and we went.
How did that affect what you understood when you went to church?
Well, as the years went on, you probably knew what some words meant, but you never really fully understood it until they turned the altars around to face the people, and then they started Mass in English. And then it was much more meaningful. Then you could follow along in your books. When it was in English, when it was Latin, you couldn't do that.
Were there any specific seating arrangements at your church?
Well, yeah, the women would sit on one side and the men on one side. Then in later years, they would sit together as families.
What about the children? Where did they sit?
The children sat up front, and the moms and the dads each sat in a different men at a side and the women at a side. The men and women would never sit together, and the children were up front. But then as the years went on, they started sitting together with their children, which makes lots more sense.
Did they have any type of church school for children?
Yeah,
in their church?
we would have in the summer, like a month or 2 weeks.
And what kind of things would you do at church school?
Oh, we would study our catechism, and we'd have tests on that, and sisters would explain different things to us. And
Where was this school?
the school was, usually there was a hall by the church.
I'd like to go back to the farm a little bit and talk about that a little bit more. And perhaps what games you would play with your siblings when you were finished with chores.
Oh, in the winter time we'd go sledding a lot, down the snowbanks and down the hills, and we'd go ice skating on little ponds, water ponds where there was ice. And
were you a good ice skater?
well, we were just skating with our shoes. We didn't wear ice skates because the ponds weren't that big where the ice was. Yeah, we did a lot of sledding after chores.
Would your family make the sleds?
No, we bought those sleds, just bought sleds with the rope on, And we'd slide down the big snowbanks and the hills, and it was fun. Only had to carry him back up. That was work.
How often would you do that?
Oh, probably 3-4 times a week.
What about skiing? Did you ever ski on those little hills?
Nope, nope. We
Um,
didn't have them kind of hills. They weren't like the ones they used for skiing.
What about sleigh rides?
Yeah, we go sleigh riding probably from place to place, not really for joyriding. We'd go with a sled and horses visiting and things like that.
Well, do you remember playing any games or activities that maybe your parents or grandparents played when they lived in Russia?
Nope, they never talked. Well, my dad was 3 years old when he came here from Russia, and my mother was born here. So he didn't remember nothing. But my grandparents used to say when they came here to the United States, he would always cry and wanted to go home, because this wasn't home to him. But he doesn't remember nothing. He was only 3 years old. He was the oldest in the family.
Of how many?
11.
And how many brothers and sisters?
Dad had 2 brothers and then 9 sisters. 2 brothers, 9, no, let me see, 8 sisters.
Did you keep in touch with your aunts and uncles?
Oh yeah, I still do. The ones that are living.
Going to move a little bit. I'd like to talk a little bit about weddings and traditions.
Okay.
When did you meet your spouse?
Oh, we've known each other all our life. And so we would be together at wedding dances, this and that, whatever. We didn't live that far apart.
So were you neighbors?
No, we weren't neighbors. We went to different churches. I went to St. Boniface, he went to St. Anthony, but we always knew each other from growing up days.
What were your parents' attitude towards him?
Oh, it had no problem, because they're people they always knew.
Well, when and where did you get married?
We got married in St. Boniface like at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then there was like a big dinner at noon. And that dinner was also soup with chicken noodle soup. And then we danced all afternoon. Then we had supper, and then we danced some more until midnight or whatever time. And that was, everybody did that. It's not just our wedding. All the weddings were like that in our generation.
Were those traditional German-Russian weddings?
Yeah, they were always like 10 in the morning. And an all-day dance and dinner supper.
What did you wear on your wedding day?
Oh, I wore a wedding gown.
Did anybody make it for you?
No, I bought it. My parents bought it for me.
Did they have money dances at that
Yes,
time for the bride and groom?
they did.
Can you describe those a little bit?
Well, they would go around the table with plates, but that was mostly for the cook and for the organist. It was not for the bride and groom. Nowadays they have for the bride and groom, but nowadays they didn't. Our generation, they went around with the plate after supper. They had 2 plates, and they would knock them on top of each other, make noise, and then they would put money in one plate, the top plate, and then they pour it in the bottom plate, and then they held it up again, and then you put money in the other one. Then one was always for the cook, and one for the organist, for the man that played.
Is that how they paid for services, or just to say?
Well, they probably got more, but that they got that. They probably got more than that. I'm not sure how that worked.
Did you have any attendance at your wedding?
Yeah, we had each had a bridegroom and a bridesmaid and a groom. We had 2 attendants each.
How about family? Did you have a lot of family in attendance?
Yeah, we had. Yeah, family was always invited. Like aunts and uncles and cousins and.
What was the typical wedding service like? Wedding mass like?
Well, it was pretty much like ordinary mass, only they You set your vows and they gave you a blessing, and that's about the only thing that was different.
Well, was there anything unusual about your courtship?
Well, John was in the Army all that while, so we weren't really together that much because he spent 2 years in the Army.
How was that for you?
We were only in contact with letters. He couldn't even call because we didn't have a phone at those days.
How many letters did you end up writing?
Oh, probably a couple a week.
How did you feel when you saw him again after all that time?
Great.
And when did you get married? Was it soon after? Or?
Okay, he was done in service in September and we got married in January.
Did you have a honeymoon?
Yeah, just like 3-4 days.
What did you do?
We went to Minnesota and visited some of his Army buddies and to South Dakota. Then we came home and we lived with his parents for, let me see, from January until October. Then we bought a neighbor farm and moved there.
Was there anything else regarding wedding traditions that you would like to add?
Can't think of it unless you do.
What was your most stressful childhood experience?
My sister tipped the car. That was kind of pretty scary. She broke her hip and she was in the hospital for 3 months.
What was the most adventurous thing you did during your childhood?
Well, we had a corn show like in the fall of the year, and we got to go to that, and they had a carnival and stuff. So that was a big deal for us. We very seldom got to go like to town or to Bismarck or something like that. In September we always had a corn show, and that was a big deal for us.
Can you describe it a little bit?
Well, they had a carnival, and really there wasn't a dance and stuff like that. I don't think they had exhibits like they do nowadays. Nowadays they have like 4-H exhibits, they show animals and all that. But they didn't have that then. Not that I remember.
And was there anything else about your childhood memories that you would like to add?
No, I don't think so. I told you we walked to school and milk cows and what we did.
Well, in conclusion, why do you think it's important to tell your life story?
Well, some of these younger people, they just can't believe it was that way. When I say there was times where we wore the same outfits for school because we didn't have much clothes. And when I tell them all that stuff and what kind of lunch we had and all that, and they just can't believe that that's possible, that it was that way. Then they say, "Mother, aren't you just stretching it a little?" No, I'm not stretching it a little. That's just how it was. I don't know. I don't think some of our younger generation could handle that. They'd have to go do what we did. But we were happy with it. We didn't know any different. But no complaints. Everybody did the same. Everybody had the same thing we did.
You had nothing else to compare it to.
And nowadays they think they have to work too hard, this and that. We never taught that. Everybody did it, you know. You didn't know any different in life. My grandma Schumacher always said, "Work makes life sweet." That's always what her saying. But she said it in German, and it sounded better.
Can you say it in German?
Die Arbeit macht Leben süß. I can talk German better than English. John and I talk German all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time.
Well, is there anything you would like to say in German on camera? Maybe in your concluding thoughts?
And I can't think of anything.
Just wanted to give you that opportunity.